Welcome back to the channel, guys. It has been a very good minute since I have uploaded here on the channel, and I think I said the exact same thing in the last video as well. Life has been absolutely crazy over the last probably, I don't know, 3 to 4 months now, but things have settled down a little bit now, and I'm very keen to sort of get back into the swing of some more regular content on this channel. So again, I think I said that in the last video, and then I haven't uploaded in about a month, but I will be doing my best to get some more regular Star Wars gaming content out here on the channel, and keep your eyes peeled soon for potentially a little bit of Battlefront 2 content making my return to Battlefront 2. So apologies for that lack of content over the last few months, but then again, there's also been essentially no Star Wars gaming content to cover. But obviously, we're not too far away now from a few games early next year, so I'm definitely keen to get stuck back into it. Now, today's video is covering some news that came out, I think, earlier this week. I am a little bit late getting around to it because I've been pretty busy this week and I just didn't really have the time when the news first dropped, but I did also want to just sort of sit and wait and see if anything else evolved from this story. And the story is that apparently Disney are actually wanting a Star Wars game every 6 months moving forward. Now, this rumor initially came from Tom Henderson, who some of you guys may know. He is a pretty well-known leaker in the gaming community, and he really did sort of start off in like the Battlefield and Battlefront like leaking field, because he very obviously has some inside sources at EA. So he's done a lot of Battlefront stuff in the past as well as some Battlefield stuff, and generally a lot of what he says is actually fairly accurate. He definitely has some sources in a lot of different dev companies out there, and so not everything that he says is always correct, but when he tweets something, especially something like this, you do tend to take a bit of notice. I'm not one to generally like fully believe in leaks, but when it is Tom Henderson, you kind of always go, okay, there's a good chance this could actually be legit. So like I said, Tom Henderson put out an article last week or earlier this week saying Disney wants a new Star Wars game every 6 months. Now, this is something that apparently has come from Disney and not from any of the other publishers. You guys have to remember that now it's not an EA exclusivity license, so it's not just EA that are going to be making these games moving forward. It is essentially open to anyone now to make Star Wars games. They obviously have to go to Lucasfilm and get the license and all that kind of thing, but any dev company out there can pitch an idea to Lucasfilm, and if it's a good enough idea, they can be approved for that. So there is definitely going to be a lot more Star Wars games, because obviously it was just EA for pretty much the last decade, and they can't just pump out like 3 games a year that are all surrounding Star Wars. So that is a lot of the reason why we've pretty much been starved of Star Wars games for, you know, the last 10 years. We've really only gotten like 4 or 5 games in that period. Some of Tom Henderson's sources have suggested that Disney wants a new Star Wars game every 6 months, and it's understood that they kind of want like a AAA title, like a major title, once per year, and then sort of just like a smaller game at another point in that year too. So for example, early next year, or at least at some point next year, we don't really know the dates yet, but we are confirmed to be getting Jedi Survivor early next year, and the rumors are to be around somewhere between like Feb, March, April, in that sort of early period. And obviously that would be classified as like their big flagship AAA Star Wars game of the year, but then we're also getting Star Wars Hunters, or fingers crossed we're getting Star Wars Hunters, because it has been delayed I think twice now, if not even 3 times. It's been in soft launch for over a year now, so fingers crossed we do actually finally get it, but it does seem like that will definitely launch next year as well. And so that right there is essentially a prime example of what Disney is probably wanting moving forward. They've got their big, like massive AAA game in Jedi Survivor, which is going to do mad numbers after obviously the success of Fallen Order. And then they've also got that sort of smaller game to accompany it in Star Wars Hunters, which, to be honest, I'll probably spend a lot more time playing that than Jedi Survivor, purely because it is a multiplayer game and it's got a lot, you know, it'll have a live service and that kind of thing. But in the grand scheme of things, Star Wars Hunters is definitely a smaller game in terms of the scale of it. So that right there is already a perfect example of what every year could look like. So then in 2024, for example, we could get another like a big AAA game. It could be that first-person shooter, which is being made by Respawn. And then there could be another sort of smaller game, something even similar to like Squadrons, where it's still a, you know, technically considered a AAA game, but it's maybe just a little bit smaller. It's not like gonna have a huge live service, or it could just be a little single player game, something that's only, you know, the size of Fallen Order, where it was only like 12 to 15 hours long. And that could be that sort of smaller game for that year too. So if this is all to be true, this is very, very exciting for Star Wars fans. This is what we've all been crying out for like literally a decade now. We all, well, not all of us, but for me anyway, I lived through that golden era of Star Wars games during the early 2000s, where I'm pretty sure there was like 16 or 18 games in like a 3 or 4 year period there. It was absolute madness. And after having lived through that in my early days, and then, you know, we just have essentially nothing for years and years. And then even when we were getting like the Battlefront games, there were 4 games in 10 years. I think there was Battlefront, Battlefront 2, Squadrons, and Fallen Order. Obviously you could count like SWTOR and Galaxy of Heroes as well, but they weren't nearly as big. And, you know, with Galaxy of Heroes, it's a mobile game. They're a little bit different. They're not those big AAA games. And so we have been starved for quite a while now, and I think this is something that we've all been wanting, is just constant Star Wars games of a high quality. If it's spread between different developers, they don't necessarily have to rush to get 2 games out a year, because it's one dev company making a game over like 4 to 5 years. And it's just that there's so many dev companies making these games that to us they seem like they're getting pumped out, when in reality each company is only making one every like 4 to 5 years. So I definitely hope this is legitimate, and to be honest, it kind of almost was confirmed already, because there's like 8 games that are confirmed to be in development. We've got the Amy Hennig Skydance Media game, which is very much rumored to be essentially them picking up Operation Ragtag, or Project Ragtag I should say. There's the untitled first-person shooter from Respawn, which is another confirmed game. That should be a very good one, and that's probably the one that I'm the most excited for. There's the open world game from Ubisoft Massive. There's Star Wars Eclipse, that has had some rumblings that it may eventually get cancelled, but I think things have picked up a little bit since then. There's obviously the KOTOR remake, which that also has had some shaky rumors out there, but it's been taken over again, so hopefully that is still on the way. There's then obviously Survivor and Hunters that are coming out next year, and then there's also that strategy game, which is also from Respawn and I think Bit Reactor. And so that right there is 8 officially confirmed games. They've all been like, you know, officially announced by Lucasfilm Games, and I would imagine all of them should be launching within the next like 5 years. The one that should be probably the latest is, by the sounds of it, Star Wars Eclipse. But for example, like that first person shooter, I don't believe that's going to take 5 years to make. That could be out in like 2024, for example. The open world game from Ubisoft, that could also be like 2024, 2025. So a lot of these are in that sort of 2 to 5 year window. And if there's 8 games in that, you know, 3 year period right there, then that is, yeah, that's even more than a game every 6 months. So this is essentially a rumor, but going by what they've already officially announced, it's not even really a rumor, because we know these games are coming out already. We do just have to hope that they don't end up getting cancelled, because we know the curse with Star Wars games is like half of them will get cancelled. And like I said, Star Wars Eclipse and KOTOR have already had a lot of rumours that could happen. Hunters has been delayed like 3 times. That Amy Hennig game, if that is a pickup of Project Ragtag, that was already cancelled. So 4 of the games on this list of 8 games have already had, you know, a shaky start to them. So we may not get all these, who knows, but it is definitely a very exciting time, you know, heading into the future, that we could be getting so many Star Wars games, at least, you know, 2 every year. And because they're not all being made by EA, they're not going to be rushed. They're all made by different companies, or to be honest, Respawn are making 3 of these, so that's not quite true. But I also completely trust Respawn. They've literally never made a bad game in their whole history. They've made the Titanfall games. Apex Legends has dominated the shooter landscape. They made Fallen Order, which was an absolute hit. So they really have not missed yet, and they're probably the one dev company that I actually think can handle 3 of these. So yeah, like I said, it's a very exciting time ahead. It does suck that these are all still probably like years away. I don't think, other than Survivor and Hunters, I don't think any of these will drop next year. But with that being said, obviously if we get Hunters and Survivor next year, that'll keep us tied over for the rest of the year. And then obviously if early 2024 we got another game, like that's kind of the point. Every 6 months we're going to have something new. So still a little bit of a wait to get through that period, but it is definitely exciting to hear nonetheless. And again, take all of this with a grain of salt, because it's not really confirmed if the whole 6-month thing is going to be legitimate, but from the games they've announced and the rough time periods that we'd imagine they'll be launching, it does all seem to be pretty legitimate so far. That is going to do it for today's video though. I just wanted to leave you guys with that news. It is a little bit late, like I said, so you probably already know about this stuff, but thought it was worth making a video on it anyway. I'm keen to hear what you guys want to see in terms of games outside of the games that we've already had announced. Be sure to leave a comment with like what you guys want to see. Do you want a Battlefront 3? Do you want like something like Red Dead Redemption but like Mandalorian? Do you want a small scale shooter? Do you want something, you know, Squadrons 2? There's plenty of different options out there, so I'm very keen to hear what you guys want to see in the future, so be sure to leave your comments down below. Like I said, I will hopefully be getting back into some regular content. It might only be like one a week or even one a fortnight until the end of the year, but then leading into next year, I am keen to really jump on that, you know, the Jedi Survivor hype train and get myself really excited for that game and make plenty of content leading up to it, and then obviously after it launches as well. So hopefully there'll be plenty more content on the channel. And the other thing is, if you guys are enjoying Andor, I actually do full reactions to all of the episodes, not only of Andor, but just every Star Wars show that comes out over on my Patreon. Those are posted every single week, so if you guys are interested in that as well, be sure to check out the Patreon. The link to that is down in the description. But with that being said, thank you guys very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and may the Force be with you always.